Climate change and its challenges for the marine environment with special reference to ecological aspects in Bangladesh. Climate change is predicted to have an extremely destructive effect on Bangladesh. Natural disasters may take place even more frequently and be greater in magnitude. A rise in sea levels could submerge a considerable proportion of the country. The legal regulation per specific aspect of maritime law are the priority of lawyers, as natural risks like rising sea levels, storm surge, or tsunami waves, the pollution of the marine environment all represent a severe threat to coastal inhabitants. Global climate change will thus not only cause environmental degradation, but will drive massive social changes as innumerable people migrate from devastated areas. This might further overstretch inadequate infrastructure and governance mechanism and will lead both to a collapse in living standard and a rise in social disorder. Thus, the article contributes to the expansion of the current regime whereby using the Bay water cooling atomic energy plant prevent its use for fish farming purposes or an oil spill on the high seas pollutes beach that are essential for tourism within the coastal zone. Such activities destroy our natural climate and change the water level and promote ocean acidification, ocean stratification, coral bleaching, change species distribution and make other biological changes to the sea and littoral including the discharge of ballast water which may carry alien invasive species. Bangladesh is susceptible to sea level rise just like the Maldives, but other events like drought, cyclone, lightning, and river erosion have made the country even more defenseless. In modern times, the increased use of maritime space for various purposes create problems for the conservation and management of marine life. However, principles, objectives, and approaches concerning management and conservation differ and maintaining generic diversity isn't properly addressed by the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Scientists who have dealt with the ecological aspect of the conflicted use of the seas rather than legal and political authorities have warned of a long-term deterioration of the marine environment. In recent time, economists have begun to contemplate the marine environment as a scarce resource. More than 60 million inhabitants of Bangladesh are directly dependent on aquatic resources. 1 million people are full-time fisher folk and 11 million have taken to part-time fishing in the country. The fisheries sector contributes about 3.4% of the total export revenue and employs 5% of the country's total workforce. The agriculture sector provides 64.5% of the country's employment and contributes 24% of the GDP. The Sundarban alone supply livelihood and regular employment to some 112,000 people. Sundarban, Bengali for beautiful forest, is also the biggest mangrove forest in the world. The Sundarban's forest lies in the vast delta on the Bay of Bengal formed by the super confluence of the Hooghly and Padma rivers, both tributaries of the Ganges and the Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers. The forest covers 10,000 square kilometers, of which about 6,000 kilometers are in Bangladesh. The seasonally flooded Sundarban's freshwater swamp forests lie inland from the mangrove forests on the coastal fringe. Sundarbans has been listed as World Heritage Site and is the most important ecosystem and protective natural barrier against the calamities like tidal surge and cyclone. This contribution of nature would simply be submerged by the rising sea. In the past, the absence of law and sovereignty enforcement has led to a growing number of cross-exploitation conflicts. This may include the following: negligent navigation that damages or destroys communication cables, the warming of the seawater used for cooling function of a nuclear power plant, thus preventing its use for fish farming purposes, and oil spills on the high seas, polluting beaches that are essential for tourism in the coastal zone. Such activities destroy our natural climate. They change the sea level and contribute to ocean acidification, ocean stratification, coral bleaching, changing species distribution, and other biological changes to the sea. A conservationist, William Lawrence of James Cook University, said there's been a lot of discussion about how global climate change affects ocean acidification, and now there's emerging evidence that the even greatest threat is reduced oxygen levels. Climate change in Bangladesh. Climate change effects are a global warning for low-lying, sea-facing, overpopulated countries like Bangladesh. The tropical monsoon climate is characterized by high temperature about 8 months of the year, high summer rainfall, high humidity, and relatively low temperature rains. Extreme weather even there have already played havoc with the life of the people. They have also caused a shift in migration and poverty patterns. The cyclones strike from the Bay of Bengal in April until May. They bring heavy rain and are frequently followed by tidal waves, which are particularly destructive in the coastal region of the country. River flows vary differently, with the peak occurring during July or September. The tidal levels vary considerably in the river delta, and high-low water rate variation between various localities depend on the relation between tidal rain and river discharge. Nazrul Islam, a professor of Dhaka University, said, "In Bangladesh, we have already conducted research on salinity-resilient crops. We are now doing research on diversification of food in coastal areas. Due to rapid climate change, the Bay of Bengal, a north and extended arm of the Indian Ocean, often become unruly and brutal cyclones sweep over the coastal belt. Sidr was the strongest cyclone to punch Bangladesh since the cyclone of 1991. After Sidr, Ayla brushed away over the coastal region of the country on May 25, 2009. The storm hit the coastal district in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has adopted innovative approaches to fight the effect of climate change and exploit extensive marine resources, including floating farms. Marine pollution in Bangladesh. The coastal zone of Bangladesh is shown. The Bay of Bengal and rivers are shown in the pale blue, the exposed coast in green, and the interior coast in turquoise. Marine pollution is the degradation of water quality as measured by biological, chemical, or physical criteria that can make water unsuitable for desired uses such as bathing, drinking, or fishing, and can have severe effect on the health of humans and animals through contact or ingestion. The Economic Commission for Europe of the United Nations define water as being polluted when the condition of the water is directly or indirectly modified. So that is a consequences of the activities of man to such an extent that this water cannot be used, or to a lesser extent that it should be naturally. The toxic chemical and pesticide are a threat to both coastal and marine environment as well as public health. Map of the land part of the coastal zone of Bangladesh. The pollution is often categorized as point source or non-point source pollution. Point source pollution takes place when there is a single, identifiable, localized source and the pollution. An example is directly discharging sewage and industrial waste into the ocean. Pollution such as this occurs particularly in developing nations. Non-point source pollution occurs when the pollution comes from ill-defined and diffuse sources. Thank you.